Clean camera.
It's good to be back, huh?
What up, everybody?
Got Matt and Name Nick here.
Clean camera, clean face. All my.
Let's see how many people come in.
Clean connection.
We're gonna get the angry Celtics fans. They're gonna just say what they have to say, log off, and then get into pregame.
Who's in charge? Who's in charge of the chat posting today? Because
is that gonna be you? Oh, if it's Nick, that's gonna get interesting.
You got to be careful with what you put up. We don't want anybody. There's gonna Joe said, there might be some very angry.
We share everything.
The people are already missing John. They couldn't get rid of him after the last game.
Nick, you have big shoes to fill here. This is a big spot,
Who would have
especially
ever
with this game? You better bring your A game in this one.
So John's busy. I think John's busy putting together his Super Bowl spread for the family, which we'll get into. We'll get into some Super Bowl talk. Yeah, we'll get into some Super Bowl talk towards the end of the show. But and Nick's gone. That was quick. But
no, I'm here. It's just that I can't do the chat because
I got the chat, Nick.
Nick, if you're trying to do the silhouette challenge, man, don't do it, man. Don't.
We're gonna do it because Bobby gave me a link that isn't the host.
All right, we're gonna finish the show with some Super Bowl talk, but we'll get right into it with the game today, Josue. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. All right. It seems like enough people are in the chat here. All right, welcome in. It's the Celtics Post Game Show, Super Bowl edition, I guess, here. Even though I kind of felt like that whole, the last 4 years in a row, the Celtics won Super Bowl Sunday. Huge jinx going into this one. But when the game actually played itself out, I mean, did anyone even think the Celtics for a second had a chance to win this one? And throughout the fourth quarter, at least, I mean, 100-91, the Suns taught the Celtics here. You got, for a team that we talk about, how many different players can they have, to really contribute offensively? Celtics got 6 against the Suns. 6 players scored in double figures here, and it still wasn't enough. Kemba Walker struggled, of course. We're going to talk a lot about that. Jayson Tatum, a lukewarm shooting night. Not exactly what we wanted to see out of him, especially down the stretch, but when the Celtics offense looks that damn desperate, I mean, that's what you get, right? Right, fellas? Nick Gelso, of course, like I said, he's joining in here for John. We got Bobby Manning, Jimmy Toscano. Jimmy, let's start with you, man. Jimmy, you came in here fired up because it's like you don't even want to talk about this game. You're already moving on to the Super Bowl, right? You don't even want to get into this.
I want to talk about this game as much as it looked like the Celtics wanted to play this game today. I mean, we're looking at like 80 points in the fourth quarter. That is ugly, ugly basketball. I actually thought that the Celtics would come out a little bit differently in the second half because they shot so poorly in that first half. But, man, it was kind of like more the same, to be completely honest. I mean, listen, I know no Jaylen Brown today, but that's no excuse. They've been able to compete a lot better than they did, I thought, today. I mean, I'll give them props for hanging around in the end. I thought the P Party kept them in it with some big threes in that second half there. I know Kemba Walker struggled all freaking day, and if John was here, I know we'd be 10 minutes in on Kemba Walker right now. He hit a couple big threes himself down the stretch, but he missed another one even later. So, very inconsistent. That's kind of been the story with Kemba Walker, and I know that's one of the big issues people have with him. But yeah, it wasn't enough today. Frustrating. It just looked like Phoenix had a lot more energy from start to finish. And I mean, Devin Booker did a lot of everything. I love Devin Booker, not just because of today, obviously, but I mean, when you talk about some of the best scorers in the NBA, he's right up there at the top, where like a guy that can just like change the game in like 30 seconds. All of a sudden he goes, 3 straight down the court and, 8 straight points. All of a sudden, keeps the Suns in it right there. So tough loss for the Seas today.
He got some significant help. Obviously Chris Paul made a hell of a difference on that team overall all season long. But I couldn't help but think of John when I was watching this one, when he always talks about how are you going to disguise Kemba Walker's defense in that starting 5. Why did he get exposed in this one?
John is just ingrained in our heads while we're watching games now.
Seriously, I'm like, look, they're not hiding him. And then it just looked like there's nowhere you can put him where he looks somewhat decent out there on the defensive end of the floor. Bobby, let's start. Let's turn things to you here. What do you think happened there defensively? I mean, they obviously the starting 5 got outmatched, but how come they were unable to recover in the fourth quarter, especially when it seemed like Jayson Tatum and Kemba Walker with those 2 big shots that Jimmy talked about? It seemed like the momentum shift was going to happen.
Their style came back to hurt them in this one because they finally went against a center who's dominant on the boards, who isn't going to let Tristan Thompson get 1,000,000 rebounds. And Thompson did do a great job on the offensive glass in this one, but he didn't finish. So a lot of times it would just lead to a second miss or a turnover or something like that. And then the Suns were right out in transition at the other basket. I think that's why they went to Daniel Theis in the end. I saw some people wondering why they didn't stick with Thompson in crunch time. They were looking for a little more transition defense down the stretch there, and they did do a better job. But then Devin Booker kills you in the half court. They get within 3. He hits that 20-foot jumper, and then that's the game right there. I knew this game was going to go in a bad direction from those opening seconds, just like you said, Josue, though, because they put Edwards out there. They put Kemba out there, and it's like, who are these two guys going to guard? They're going against Paul and Booker, 2 of the best offensive guards in the league. And those 2 guys just came right out. Booker specifically, 5 straight possessions they score. And the Celtics were struggling to get stops all night. It was just basket city under the rim. They have great pull-up shooters around the perimeter. And, you know, another game where the Celtics defense gets torched. The final score wasn't too bad, 100. But on a day where you struggle from the field immensely, that ended up just being enough for the Suns. So I still don't trust this defense. Like they made great strides again against the Clippers. I think it's been a couple good weeks of progress now. But I looked before the game. They're one of the 5 worst teams at protecting the rim. They're 26th in the league with giving 64% inside.
Yeah, it just seemed like the Suns had way too many. They had way too many weapons out there. I'm sure Nick was going crazy because if anything, if there's one thing that Nick can't stand is awful defense, right? I mean, old school cat like Nick. You can't stand to see the Celtics.
Did this bring you back to 76, Nick?
Oh, man. You know what? It brought me back to 76, 70 points by Devin Booker.
Yo, Nick, how many stickers ripped through in that game?
You were there with me, I think. We were sitting by each other and watching the Celtics give up all these points to Devin Booker. But, yeah, I mean, defense frustration. But what's more frustrating, and I know you guys will kill me for this, but it's the three-point shooting. Even when they're making it, they can't make regular field goals, and you can pretty much count on, you know, their field goal percentage was horrendous, but they shot well from 3. That three-point shot is the undoing, in my opinion. It is so annoying. You know what else is annoying? The Kemba killing. Why are we killing?
That kept them in the first half, though.
What was that, Josue?
That kept them in the first half, though. It's tough.
I know, but it works both ways. We always say live and die with the 3, right? Well, today you didn't you didn't die by it, but you didn't live by it either because you couldn't hit a shot from 2 feet away with bad interior defense. And they are thinking Kemba Walker. Like, let's give Kemba Walker a little time to adjust. He just hit a game winner last game. I'm sure everybody, you know, on Twitter wasn't going to say trade Kemba. I mean, he's been tough to watch. It's an adjustment because he's no longer the first option. But let's give it a shot. Let's let him play a little bit.
I mean, I feel like Kemba he did what he wanted to do out there. No, I mean, obviously
it's not going to happen.
They made him uncomfortable, but he got some good looks and he got drive to the hoop. And to your point, I mean, a lot of missed bunnies, right? And he wasn't the only one. Yeah,
a lot of missed bunnies.
I mean, we're up on the point where, you know, the grace period for Kemba is wrapping up here, right? I mean, he's played however many games he's played. The minutes are kind of where they typically would be now. So it's not really, to me at least, it's not really a health thing. I mean, the first thing that I looked for when he returned was his health. Looks healthy, honestly. I mean, I don't notice much of a difference, but now it's just getting that production to where you want it to be. I mean, we started to see it slide, unfortunately, in the playoffs last year. And there are games like, you know, it's funny. We talk about Kemba, depending on what show you watch, you either think we love him or we you know, want him out the door because that's how hot and cold he's been. So the consistency is the biggest concern right now. Again, this is all without Jaylen Brown in the game. So you'd hope that you have a full lineup, you know, heading into the playoffs and in the playoffs. So this is a completely different team. I know we had one commenter say it's Geno time if Jaylen Brown plays today. Probably the case. I mean, right? I mean, you could easily make that case that if Jaylen Brown's starting or playing, that the Celtics would take down the Suns today. So again, I don't put too much.
What about Tristan Thompson? I mean, you get Tristan 12 rebounds. He's finally getting in shape after so long. I don't believe he was on the court what did he play in the fourth?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because that one stuck out to me as well because he was giving you that muscle down low. He was giving you the Tristan Thompson that we've been looking for, especially on the defensive end.
He's finally in shape.
He's like the only one to really. he was the only one rattling the Suns a bit. And of course, yeah, he did have a couple easy buckets down low.
Right?
He's finally in shape. Go ahead, Bobby.
He makes a legitimate impact on those offensive boards. I was stunned they got as many as they did today, and he put them like they're going against the Clippers here, who have a great front line. I think they were a top 5 offensive or defensive rebounding team, and now the Suns team, that's no joke with that lineup, whether it's Ayton or Frank Kaminsky or the other big men that they have in there. They have a great rebounding front line, awesome rebounding guard in Chris Paul throughout his career, and he's still getting them over those guys inside. So it puts a legitimate identity on this team to some degree that they're going to go out there and create second chances for themselves. But I keep getting torn between, do I like that more or do I like them getting back and protecting the rim the other way off misses more? The Suns knew that they were going to be able to have to get in front of him and get out and run because the Celtics crashed those offensive boards so hard. And especially in that third quarter, you saw it. They were running for open layups the other way every single time. So
I feel like John is on the show today because Bobby totally disregarded the question. Why did Tristan not play?
Because the transition defense. I think when he's out there, they're not as strong getting back. That's where I was going. You didn't give me the time, Nick. I gotta take 3 minutes to answer the questions here.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
On the clock here, guys. Jimmy has this on the clock.
I mean, well, why is that though, Bobby? Because obviously for the Celtics offensively, you want to push the tempo, right? You want to be in transition and score up tempo. But when Kemba's missing bunnies, Tatum couldn't find a bucket for a while.
Yeah, you want to clean up something inside.
If Pritchard doesn't hit those back-to-back 3-pointers, this team would have been over well before the end of the fourth quarter.
It's a fair point. I remember his original coach David Blatt was on one of our shows here, and he said this guy's the best offensive rebounder in the fourth quarter he'd ever seen. And so, yeah, there's a good case for it. I think a couple games ago he should have been in there too in crunch time. It worked well against the Clippers to have him in there at that point. So he's playing well enough tonight. 12 rebounds, 6 on the offensive end of the floor. He's getting it done now, even on the defensive end of the court where I've had the most issues with him, to say that he should be that closer in crunch time. Now, Daniel Tice was awesome in this one. So it was a close call. Yeah, and they were winning with him on the floor. So I understand the decision, but it didn't work out.
But Nick, what do you think?
Sorry, Josue. You've been waiting for Tristan Thompson to get in shape. Guys, he was out of shape. He hadn't played in the bubble. So waiting for him to get into shape. He's getting into game shape. He's rebounding. He's doing what we brought him here for. And, Brad goes away from him. I understand the transition defense, but at that point, you need muscle. You need rebounds. And I feel like Tristan was doing well.
But you also need points, Nick.
Huh?
You also need points. Who's going to give you more
bench?
Who's going to give you more points, though? Is it going to be Tice or Thompson?
Yeah, see, that's another thing, too. And I wanted to bring this up, at some point throughout this show, because across the line, is it just me, or I feel like Tristan Thompson, he's getting like that old man, get him the buckets quickly in the first 10 minutes game. Like, remember? It's like, not to put him, not to age him this much. Remember when Shaq was on the Celtics? It was like, get Shaq his buckets early because in the second half he's done.
Oh, don't say that.
Wow, you went Shaq, dude?
That's their approach for him getting buckets. And then after that, forget it. You're not going to get much offense after that.
You're like Jermaine O'Neal.
When basketball was good, though, too. You establish your post game, then went to the perimeter. But, yeah, I get what you're saying totally. I see that, too. But, listen, I mean, Tice doesn't hit those three-point shots, guys. You're not getting points from him either. So, I think you got to, or Grant. I mean, he had a nice game, a decent game, of course,
good first half.
Still, he's playing more minutes than Tristan Thompson makes no sense to me. Maybe they're just looking for offense because they couldn't put it in the ocean.
It's that same deal we've been talking about now, the awkwardness of this team. They're trying to get center minutes for 4 centers. Can I call Grant a center, Nick? Is that allowed on your show?
Oh, man, that's fine.
John's gonna insert stuff into the show
so they're trying to get minutes for 4 centers. It gets awkward. Tyson Grant end up filling the 4 spot in this rotation. since they don't have an extra wing that's reliable. So they're essentially rotating 4 centers at 4 spots throughout these games. And again, Brad goes to the 3 center starting lineup, and I couldn't stand it. It was such a disaster to start the Clippers game, and it was again here. And
why have you not yet been critical of Brad Stevens?
I am. He in spots.
I think we're at that point now. I think we're at that point, Nick.
And every show, I would say to myself, when are these guys going to get tough on Brad? Because every time you guys are breaking down games, it always seems to come down to minutes, rotations, and offensive play calling. Isn't that all coaching? I mean, I don't understand why no one on this panel will ever go after Brad.
I mean, that's a little extreme. I think by talking about those things, I think by mentioning all those things that you just mentioned that we criticize all the time, I mean, isn't that essentially criticizing Brad? I mean, what else do you want us to say? Fire Brad?
No one will say there's a problem with the coaching staff.
That's what Nick's waiting for.
What do you want to say? Fire Brad? I mean, there's 100 commenters where you can get that take from. I think what we do is we break down the decisions that he makes. You can form your own opinions based on those decisions. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like the lineups or the rotations or the minutes and all those things. So, I mean, if that's your what?
I've heard you guys criticize that
Yeah,
consistently.
so I mean that's the criticism. That's how we criticize, I guess, the coaching. From game to game. We're not going to sit here and say fire Brad. I mean,
I didn't say
go
fire
scroll the
him.
comments. I know,
but we give him his credit too. It's been hit or miss. So this is the detriment with trying to find a lineup throughout a course of a game
headphones.
And playing 13 minutes.
Why, is it feedback?
You're soft.
Okay.
Your neck tail, man. Your neck tail's messing up. No, don't do it. Don't do anything. See, now look what you did.
I didn't tell him to shut the screen off.
Now he's gonna come back with like the worst looking screen ever.
He won't be back. I didn't tell him to shut the screen off. I just told him
he's gonna try to do something that he thinks gonna make it better, and it's gonna make it. He's gonna pull up the way he did last time.
Yeah. So anyways, let me answer that because it is a fair question by him. Is Brad searching too far now, sacrificing wins in the attempt of finding the perfect lineup throughout the flow of these games? Because we are 2 weeks into now him trying to find a lineup that works throughout an entire flow of a game here, and you end up playing 13 guys. I don't know how many ended up coming into this game. I don't think they were searching as deep for different players as much as combinations.
You played 10 guys.
You lose stretches of a game when you're looking for different combinations here, as they did. And I'll give him credit for certain spots in that second quarter. The lineup that looked funky, I think it was Teague, Kemba, Grant, Tyson, Thompson again. That lineup actually came together pretty good. So there are certain ones here within these flow of the games that hit. It hit to close the Warriors game when you put Grant in there in that closing lineup. It hit against the Clippers when Carson Edwards came in. But then there's other times it doesn't. And a lot of the time it's at the beginning of these games and it's building deficits for them. So does that deficit kill you? Is that deficit the reason they lost tonight? I don't think so as much. They tied the game twice in the second quarter and then almost at the end there. So they ended up finding stuff that worked. But there is a legitimate criticism to trying to find stuff and maybe sacrificing wins there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that, Bobby. But I think, it's a good point, but I think it's also a testament to someone like Brad Stevens, who's made so many trips, deep trips into the playoffs.
It's worked for him in the past.
Well, I think he understands exactly. Well, that, and also he understands that, this thing is a marathon, and obviously the uniqueness of this season, couple it with last season. I mean, the tail end of this regular season, they're not even quite sure what it's going to look like. So I just think he's really pacing himself, and I think that's smart. I mean, we had a lot to say after those first 5-6 games where it felt like the sky was falling. I mean, we all knew how early it was in the season, but I think what we were most concerned about was because we expected the Celtics to be at this specific level. But then you look across the rest of the Eastern Conference, I mean, there's a lot of teams losing games like this. And I think Jaylen Brown not being in the lineup is obviously a huge, indication of how this team struggles offensively without him or defensively without him. How much the team's going to struggle on defense without someone like Marcus Smart. You have to take all that into consideration.
That's the key point here, Nick. I said if you can criticize anything here, it's him going too deep in the rotations and trying this thing like with Carson open the game, the experimental stuff. But isn't this the time to experiment while Jalen's out, while Smart's out?
I agree with that 100%. And let's be honest, guys. I mean, we're all going to make a prediction here in terms of the Celtics make a trade. I think if I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's a great chance Danny's going to make a trade, right, at some point before the before the deadline. This is the time you showcase what you got. No, I mean, I don't think this was a game.
Carson Edwards, they're not showcasing Carson Edwards.
Yeah, I think
it's a little bit of experimenting along with that. I think you could say that a little bit. This isn't by design. They didn't want him to not be available. They don't want Marcus Smart to not be available, but this is what they got.
Yeah, I think that the judgments are out on the players. I don't think that at this point they're showcasing. This isn't a walk the catwalk. I think they want to win games.
My choice, but I mean,
yeah, I know. I mean, I'm being a ball busty, but I think they want to win games. I hope they do. They don't seem to ever get angry when they lose. I don't know.
The one thing they've showed is that Kemba Walker looks healthy. I mean, he might not be playing well, but he looks healthy.
But they can't integrate him.
It's not my point. My point is, if you're looking to trade Kemba, you have to prove to these other teams that he's healthy. He's not gonna. It's not an Isaiah Thomas situation, right, where they trade him to and he hasn't been right ever since. So they have to show that Kemba Walker's healthy, that the knee is fine, and based on what I've seen, it looks fine to me. It's just the shots aren't falling right now. I mean, you could easily make the case that the two bench guards were 10 times better than the two starting guards today. I mean, you had Pritchard and Teague off the bench. You'd probably rather have those two in the game late than having Kemba in the game today. I mean, it would have been a very ballsy move by Brad to bench Kemba in this one. I know he was.
I was thinking they might, because he didn't come in until that 250 point.
Right, but he did hit two of the shots he hit were in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, how much better would they have been with him out of the game at that stage? I don't know.
5-minute mark,
but the way Pritchard was playing, I mean, he was keeping you in the game. I mean, if there's a way to there's got to be a way for them to get Pritchard more minutes. He looks great. I thought he was like the one who stood out to me the most today. He's just consistently looks ready for the occasion. Even he's playing like full court defense at certain points. He was like really pesky out there. Hitting some big threes. I continue to be impressed with him. I think they got to figure out ways to get him playing time. If that means less for Edwards, fine. I mean, I think Carson Edwards is who he is. They're not showcasing him for anything. They're just trying to eat up some minutes. But I think Pritchard should be able to eat up more of those minutes.
If Pritchard's going to be smart, he's going to play 30 minutes. There's no doubt about that.
Everyone loves to trash Teague. He's the easy one. Last show we did, I was like, listen, every player that gets trashed on is, come around at some point. Teague's going to be next. I didn't think it would be one game later, but he looked a little bit more like Teague out there. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But he certainly wasn't a liability out there like some people, claim he's been since game one.
Well, when Brad Stevens was asked about Peyton Pritchard and how he's doing from coming back from his injury, he said that at this point, he's not going to inch anywhere near towards 30 minutes. It's not ideal. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But one thing to point out is what Kemba Walker did today in playing over 30 minutes. That's the first time he's done that since he's come back from his injury. And you look at his scoring, what we got here? You got, 20% from the floor, 4 of 11 from behind the arc. I mean,
all 4 of his shots were threes. All 4 of the field goals he made were from 3-point line. He missed everything else. It was an awful game. I mean, it was an awful game. Awful game.
Yeah, what are we talking about the rim now? Like 30%. It's so hard to be a player leading an offense, dribbling, creating off the dribble when you aren't a threat to finish inside. And especially a game like this against an Ayton, looks like he has no hope at finishing in there. And it wasn't even just Ayton. Damian Jones, who I have vaguely heard of, completely reject him at the rim and throw him back on his back, and he just slammed the ground again and again. He can't get in there, and that's something we've watched develop with Kemba all the way back to last postseason. So if there's any concern with Kemba that's already evident now and hasn't changed in a while, it's that he's not finishing at the basket anymore. There was glimpses of it when he first got back. In that Knicks game, he did a few times, but that's when he gets past the guy in a pick and roll and turns the corner. You don't know if he's going to be able to score in traffic.
Kemba reeks of confidence depleted, right? So, get the confidence back, shots will start dropping. I agree, go to the rim. But if you're not going to the rim strong, it's a sure indication that your confidence in maybe your health is depleted. So, I mean, I don't understand. I'm not going to change the subject. I guess I will, though. But Robert Williams, I don't know the answer. Why didn't Robert Williams, if transition defense was the problem, why didn't he get more minutes? Why is he sitting at the bottom of a terrible bench?
It's been the case all year.
Stevens criticism, yeah. We ask that every single game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have no
probably
idea.
something to do with too many centers.
In stretches, of course. You know.
But you think, I mean, you want to talk about showcasing guys, Josue? That's a player that you can showcase. If you think you can
That's
actually.
the player they want to hold on to. That's why they want to hold on to
him.
him.
They don't play him.
You got to play the guy. If you think he can help, then he should be on the court. If you think he can build his trade value, then he should be in the court. He's adding absolutely nothing sitting on the bench. I'm not saying he would have been the answer today either. But again, if he's a guy that, it's crazy. He'll have a game and look like a great player, and we'll start comparing, I want to see how he plays against, some, name any star center. Well, let's see how he looks tonight against star center. Ayton, sure. I mean, you can go down the line. Bam. It's a joke. Some of the guys that were like talking about him in the same.
Look at this. Nick got us in the criticizing mood.
That's my job.
We're rolling now. No, there is reason they criticize Brad Stevens in spots, especially after losses like this one in particular, where they're undermanned and it's kind of his job to coach up something that works to, cook up wins in games where they're underdogs. They were underdogs in this one. So
everyone loves to talk about ATOs. I don't see them. I haven't seen them in a long time. His end of game coaching is, in my opinion, pretty suspect at best.
All right, I'm gonna throw this out.
Last couple seasons, he has.
No, you're still going. Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go throw it right to you though. Last
you're gonna
couple
go to
seasons,
all the seasons.
He buffaloed how many superstars? I don't blame it on even Kyrie to a certain degree. He couldn't control them. Okay, so he couldn't control his son, Gordon Hayward. When are we going to say maybe Danny's giving him the players and he's not able to manage them? Go ahead, Josue.
That's a fair point. I mean, we can get a little more into that, Nick, but this crossed my mind.
We've said that, by the way.
The timing of this was right before Kemba hit those two big shots in the fourth quarter. So I was like, but I'm still going to bring it up. At what point, if this Kemba struggle continues, do you seriously, or does Brad Stevens, I should say, seriously consider maybe starting Pritchard just to sort of get him jump-started in that offense, bring him off the bench / finishing games? What do you guys think about that?
Kill Kemba's confidence.
I'm all for anything. I mean, listen.
Fully
healthy.
That would stab his confidence. Yeah, probably.
Fully healthy. I'm not sure where. I think I'd rather have Pritchard coming off the bench. But listen, the way he's playing, I don't know. It's hard to say because of his size. It's not like you just toss him all around the court. Oh, we lost Bobby. See you, Bob.
We were trashing Stevens too much. He had to leave.
Yeah,
he adds so much value to the team when he's on the court. It's almost like put whoever you want out there with him, and good things will happen. Whether it's him and Kemba. If that's too small, then I understand that. But I mean, he almost gives you like that Marcus Smart type value out there. Except for for me, I like him shooting the ball more than I like Marcus Smart shooting the ball. I don't know if that makes. And I'm not saying trade Marcus Smart, but I don't know if that makes Marcus Smart more expendable in the now or in the future or what. But Peyton Pritchard is doing everything in his power to get more playing time, to be inserted in more rotations, to even have the discussion on getting some spot starts. I mean, you can't tell me that he'd be worse than Carson Edwards in the starting lineup.
No, yeah, that's the question. Do you pull all opportunity away from Teague, from Edwards in this case today where he gets 17 to get him past 30 up to 35 minutes like they would Marcus Smart? Or the other question would be replace him in a game like this where the hot hands were Teague and Pritchard into the fourth quarter.
Either.
Kemba entirely.
Well, listen.
I stay with Kemba because you're working towards something bigger, and that's this patient conversation with Stevens. Like, you got to – putting him back in here with 5 minutes to go was the right decision, even though – what was working before that, it looked pretty good early in that quarter. And then Kemba does end up hitting 2 threes, the free throws, adds 8 points down the stretch and gets them within 3. So that decision did ultimately work out to stick with him and believe in him late.
I always go back to, I'm not comparing the two players because he's not at that level, but I always go back to Tyler Hero last year. I mean, the Heat gave Tyler Hero the opportunity, and he stepped up in a massive way, and he was really the difference in the playoffs against the Celtics. As far as, I mean, you can argue Bam, obviously, but let's be honest, Tyler Hero took his, he went from a player to a freaking player, man, and that was because the Heat trusted him. They gave him the playing time. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you got to keep taking those minutes up for Pritchard because until he proves otherwise or shows otherwise, I think he's deserved more minutes. Now, I know he's coming back from an injury, and that might have something to do with it. But if he's back healthy, keep him in the game because, as far as I'm concerned, he's affecting winning out there. So
I think being on the floor in the fourth quarter, or pretty much the entire fourth quarter, we've seen these last couple of games, right after you come back from an injury, is a huge boost in your confidence. And if you're Brad Stevens, you're like, listen, you earned this one. I trust you. We need you out there. Go back in the fourth quarter and finish this thing out.
Put that back up there.
He's not afraid of that. He's not afraid to take those shots. He's not afraid to knock them down, which of course he did. But of course the Celtics didn't get enough of that against the Suns.
Let me just address this quick.
Yeah,
I
Nick.
never said to replace Brad Stevens. I said there has to be some criticism.
No, you just want to sit on the fence. That's all you want to do.
No,
this is like John. This is like John does too.
I want to see some criticism from our media, the beat writers, and the fans. I don't really care what the fans are but someone needs to say. They need to bring the question
the fans do. We see it.
No,
in the
but the
every
fans.
day,
I'm not.
Brad.
Listen, the fans matter. I'm not
Angry
saying
Nick.
they don't matter.
Angry
But
Nick.
I want you. Listen,
Nick wants the
beat writers-
pitchforks.
No, I want a beat writer. I want someone to come out and say, is Brad Stevens the problem? Pose the question. That's what a good reporter does. That's what I'm trying to say. Because there's no question. It is a question that should be asked.
I don't think
I
there's enough
never said
evidence.
replace him.
But
But if you
evidence.
asked me that in the summer or in the offseason, I would have said bring Doc Rivers back. Now you could all jump all over me.
No, that
He's a
came.
great assistant.
Nick, that came up right after the Celtics were eliminated. The Celtics fans were calling for him to be fired. 100%.
I don't watch the Celtics fans. I watch you guys.
Nick wants to crawl back to his ex. Hey, Doc Rivers bailed on you, buddy. He's in the past.
Doc is doing pretty well this year so far, though.
Doc's done pretty damn well for everybody who's criticizing him.
All right, well, Nick,
I'm going to tell you something. He's been pretty good to Boston.
Nick, hold on, real quick. Who had
criticizing him, but
who had better weapons?
He made his decision.
Nick, who had better weapons for the most of the past, 7 seasons? Doc or Brad Stevens? And which one went all the way to nearly the NBA Finals more times than the other?
Who had more head cases, Brad or Doc Rivers?
Oh, that's a long conversation, man. What do you define as a head case?
More head cases?
I mean, there's a lot that are out there in LA.
What are you doing right now?
Chris Paul's a terrible teammate, guys.
If you're talking about controlling the locker room, we've brought up on this show. I don't have multiple times.
I have heard it.
Okay, then so don't sit here and say that we never say boo about Brad. We've brought up numerous things about. Okay, well we brought up numerous issues that we've seen or we've wondered, but we're not in the locker room, so it's a lot of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if this could be it or that could be it or why could this happen.
We've been in the locker room. We've been in the hall.
I'm talking about. I know we're in the locker room, but we're not in the locker room when it actually matters to be in the locker room. Is my point. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and break down relationships between player and coach and all that stuff when it's just nonsense.
No, and this is what I've said about Brad in the past too. There's this sentiment that he doesn't throw chairs and he doesn't freak out about losses and he isn't tougher on these guys.
I agree with some of that.
Well, I think he should be. I think he can be angrier. He should be angrier.
I think it's subtle and he does it in his own way. He calls out players. He calls out units. He calls out the team after losses. But it's not aggressive and it's not grinding away to where there'd be just guys at each other's face through a season. And this is, our fans and certain people on the show have freaked out after losses during this year. If what are they, 12-10 now? If it was a freakout fest after all 10 losses,
you have two of the best players
this
in the NBA.
wouldn't be sustainable. But Nick, look at the Heat.
Nick,
the Heat just made the NBA Finals and they're 7-14. The Mavericks were just
do you honestly think that the Heat wasn't a product of the bubble?
But they were a much better team than they're showing right now.
But do you think it was the product of the bubble? The bubble basketball was
it's looking like it.
It helped, but they had that continuity before. But yeah,
Nick, you can't get hung up on wins and losses and record right now. Look at the Celtics. They've had a full roster for like 3 of their games.
That's a good point too. They've had their full lineup for 21 minutes.
It's part of the game, exactly. So, but you can't criticize the record without at least acknowledging part of the reason why. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will give.
Okay,
that.
so let's not sit here and listen. The Celtics lost today, and could they have won? Yeah, but at the end of the day,
if it was a win, I'd be saying the same thing.
Right, but at the end of the day, we're kind of like, okay, they lost because they didn't have Jaylen Brown, they didn't have Marcus Smart. Things probably different if they did. So instead, we're just breaking down other aspects of the game within the game that could be better, right? I mean, the outcome is the outcome. We're not going to harp on the result because I think a lot of people expected that they wouldn't win today without those two players anyways. It would have been nice if they did, but, they didn't.
Okay.
So I'm actually done talking about I'm officially done talking about this game.
I think a lot
here's what I can say about that.
I think a lot of it has to do with where you hold your expectations compared to when the season started to now. And whether you got all excited, which I'm sure you did, Nick. You got all excited when the Celtics started getting all those wins and Tatum and Brown were balling out. The COVID thing just ripped through this team, and then that's when they started losing games and everyone started panicking again. I don't think, again, it depends on where you had them before the season started. Like me personally, top 5 at best, 5th seed or 5th place, however you wanted to look at it.
Some people worried they weren't going to make the playoffs if Kemba didn't play at all.
I mean, honestly, a little bit over 500, it's what I had in mind 20 games into the season. This team isn't that far out from what I expected.
I didn't have lofty expectations, Josue. I really didn't. The only expectations
what happened, Nick? What happened? They got out to a quicker start than we expected.
They really didn't because they struggled.
Like 7-3.
They were 7-3.
I know they were, but they buffaloed 2 preseason games and a regular season game.
No,
preseason.
You left your expectations after that. That's what you did.
No, I looked at that, and
now you're pointing at Stevens.
Okay, so I'll say it this way.
Giving him the middle finger. Unbelievable.
No, I love this. I'll say it this way. This is the way I'm going to say it, is that I didn't have lofty expectations. I did not, no. But I did have expectations to show heart and get out there and fight your ass off and play basketball. And guess what? You are a product of your leader. Everybody's bashing on Doc now. Doc was a bitch.
Nobody's bashing on Doc.
In the chat room. Doc was a bitch to the officials, so was Paul Pierce and everybody else. It's follow the leader. Brad Stevens has no passion, desire. He doesn't show it, at least, and neither do his players. Do you think this team is energized and passionate? No. Do you think it? Do you get inspired by this team?
You want him to go and slap Jeff Teague across the head? Is that going to help? What do you mean?
No, I want to see. I want to see him coach with some energy, man, and get a little pissed off.
They want the chair to be thrown across the court.
I've never seen a chair thrown since Bobby Knight. I don't know where that's coming from.
He wants the Bobby Knight swag.
His style is Brad Stevens' style is Brad Stevens' style. He's not Greg Popovich out there with he's not like a Greg Popovich if that's what you want, like the anger. He's not like a Rick Carlisle. But whatever he's been doing on the grand
finals in 4 years. I think a lot of this criticism.
East finals, and he lost all 3 on his home court. I think all 3 were lost, besides the bubble.
But the bubble, yeah.
And it was play calling down the stretch against Cleveland on those Isaiah teams, wasn't it?
2018, yeah. Fair.
Yes. Okay. So he couldn't control Kyrie, and his son asked to leave. Aren't these things that should be asked? What the issue
that's an underdog situation in 2018.
We brought that up a ton of times. But listen.
Who said you didn't?
We've brought up the whole Kyrie situation so many times. People hate us every time we mention the name, so we're not talking about him today, by the way.
I brought him up as a matter of fact.
Right, but you can make the case that the Celtics had no business even being in the Eastern Conference Finals some of those years that they were.
Very true.
So it's like the old Tom Brady argument, and we're going to get into him very soon, but it's like, you give people like to hate on Tom Brady for the losses in the Super Bowl when it's like comparing it to Joe Montana, who didn't even get to the Super Bowl to losing. So
it's like the LeBron.
Right, exactly. LeBron. You can use the basketball term for sure. LeBron putting the team on his back. LeBron carrying these misfits to the NBA Finals, and then he loses, and then people criticize LeBron because he can only do so much with a bunch of hanger-on.
I think Brad Stevens is soft, and I think Jimmy Toscano is soft. That's what I think.
I think you're pretty soft, too.
And I've been saying that we were sitting next to each other at TD Garden. Soft.
Last point I have on Brad.
All right.
The East Finals criticism deserved last year. I think there were some missing adjustments there, and it's a lost opportunity, certainly, with a really good team. 2019, yeah, of course. I mean, that was a disaster that everybody played a part in, Danny Ainge as well. And this year, I think
the manager could manage them.
Well, he had 11 guys who needed minutes in the ball. It was a hard situation.
Put that tape back up. He has no talent around him. Let's call him LeBron Stevens. Come on.
No, yeah. I mean, there's fair criticism the last 2 years on teams that could have been champions.
Yeah, absolutely. We criticized the hell out of him last year.
This year so far. This year.
I've been dying for this.
This is Matt and Nick right here. I like it.
If we're just talking about this year, they're missing a wing spot because of the TP, and they didn't bring anything back for Hayward. We'll get to that eventually when they actually use that and assess the offseason as it might be. The free agent signings have looked inconsistent so far. And they have the top-end talent, and the top-end talent is working. You know, Ainge gets credit for that in retrospect. But right now, the depth of this team, because of using 16 picks in 4 years, falls on Ainge. That falls on Ainge. And right now, we're talking about the shortcomings.
We're talk about Danny Ainge, the guy
all right, Bobby. Fellas, guys, serious question here. Really serious question here, Bobby. Who you got win the Super Bowl? Do you want the Bucks to win?
Thank you.
Or nah?
That's all Jimmy wanted to talk about.
Who you got?
I am all the way in on Tampa Bay at this point. I hesitated last night because I'm scared of Mahomes.
Did you rip the tag off that jersey this morning? Yeah, you did, Bobby. Yeah, you did.
Aren't the Raptors down in Tampa Bay?
Tampa is the center of the sports world. The Raptors are coming back. They just beat the Nets. I didn't get to mention that yesterday. A lot of the Raptors fans in our comments were pumped. And it just so happens that when I used to play Madden at like age 14, I used to love the Buccaneers, and it all comes together.
We don't want the story how Bobby became a Bucs fan last week. All right. Anyway, you guys want to know where John is? He just tweeted this.
Yo, I was gonna show it too. I forgot to.
Oh, were you?
Yes.
No, I forgot. I'm glad you did.
Yo, he's got. It looks, and this is. Listen, you guys already know I'm Bucs. I'm Tom Brady, so therefore I'm Bucs. So I mean, I've got the Bucs big today, money line. Not that I'm betting on it, but I think the Bucs are going to win the game. Now, John's been too busy for the show today, but not too busy to put his Super Bowl spread together. Looks like he's got pigs in a. Pigs? Who's laughing like uncontrollably?
Me, that was hilarious. He put a spread together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He thought he meant coverage. He meant dinner.
Yo, those are the biggest freaking pigs wrapped in blankets I've ever seen. Jeez.
Well, everything has a Greek twist. Put that on the screen, will you?
I'm going to say this. When talking about Super Bowl foods, pigs in a blanket to me is one of the best options you can have. Because it's not something that you have often. It's not something that you have often, but like for the Super Bowl, like it makes perfect sense. And like those go quickly. Somebody got booted, right? Oh, Josue got booted. What the hell? Okay, well, listen, pigs in a blanket, it's one of the first things to go. You got to be in on those early.
Are you a mini pig or a whole pig?
Pigs in a blanket,
like
the
mini
little
pigs
guys.
in the blanket or the big ones?
The little they're all little. You ever had one? They're all little. Okay, well, I'm talking about the little ones. The finger
little ones. There's minis and big ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's a staple. I mean, me personally, like whenever I'm watching the Super Bowl, usually got some nerves going on for whatever reason. So I like to have something. I like to have a bunch of options that I can get up during the game and like pick at because I'm nervous. So like anything that I can make a sandwich out of, you know, whether it's like pulled pork, you know, some sort of steak tips, things like that. Like that's very, very important for a Super Bowl game. I'm not interested in pizza at the Super Bowl. You can have pizza all the time. I'm not into pizza. There you go.
Are they wieners? Are they stuffed hot dogs or hot dogs stuffed?
This is John's. This is John's.
John, wipe the side of the bowl.
Yeah. You can tell he tried to pour it. He tried to pour it from one bowl to the other.
Either that or he went for an early bite before the picture.
Yeah.
I usually do
you
that.
can use a filter or two on there.
He's got some going. That's important too. You want to have a couple different dips, a little guac, some chips, maybe a little queso. But like Chinese food, we all love Chinese food, but I'm a big Chinese food guy on New Year's Eve. So like a month later, I'm still recovering. So I'm not trying to get Chinese for the big game. Like I'm sticking to like the staples of Super Bowl.
Who does
Sunday
Chinese food?
Grub. What about you guys? You got any like go-tos?
Chinese food's in New Year's. Yeah, I mean wings, right?
No, I'm talking about for
wings. Absolutely. I mean that's number one, right? You
can't. Wings, bites. You know what's nice is like
Josué thinks we're talking about New Year's.
No, I was confused as to why that's a Super Bowl food.
Soft pretzels.
Chinese food?
They're really good. Soft pretzels with like a honey mustard dip, very nice. The
You going like
piggies are
Auntie
great.
Annie's before the game or something?
No,
bro?
no. You just gotta
Pizza
get
all
the
the way.
item. Yeah,
Pizza?
pizza's there.
Serious question, Nick.
Listen, I mean, I'm a
Yo,
biggest
yo,
pizza
yo.
guy I know, but I mean, you can have pizza any day of the week.
Yo,
Pickles or
Josue,
no
ask
pickles,
away.
Nick?
Oh, I'm a big
Is there
pickle
pickle
guy.
jar at this party?
I heard that pickle
Boo.
show, and I couldn't believe
Boo.
what my ears were
Hold
showing me. Like the amount of pickle hate in this company is really, it's a problem, I think. You know?
Gross.
I do.
Jimmy
because
got so mad he
pickle is
left.
just- I can't believe Jimmy, Jimmy is a closet pickle eater.
Soft pretzel though? Is that a Super
Hey,
Bowl?
I told him right off the
Yeah,
sandwich.
you get the pretzel bites, bro. They're like soft pretzels, and people put the
Still
as much
pickles,
of Super
Josue?
Bowl.
Yes.
As much of Super Bowl food as hot dogs and a puff pastry.
Dude, that's like what is?
Pretzel bites are just as much of a Super Bowl food as hot dogs and a puff
We're
pastry.
jumping from product to product
I
now.
can't imagine that's true. I'll let you run with that. I cannot imagine
Wait,
that's
wait,
true. I've
wait,
never
no,
heard it
no.
in my life.
Wait, no,
Pretzel
no.
bites?
You've never heard of
Why did you just
pretzel bites.
pronounce
Soft
that like
pretzels.
that? What did you
I
call
know
it
what you're
again?
talking about, but like
Hot
you go
dogs
to
and
a
a
Super
puff
Bowl,
pastry.
you go to a Super Bowl party. It's not like a bucket of soft pretzels. Like
Is that
rare,
a Pennsylvania
I would say.
thing?
No, you get the soft pretzel bites, and they're on a toothpick, and you dip them in the honey mustard sauce.
No, I know what it is.
Or cheese fondue.
Pigs wrapped in blanket?
Pigs in a
I
blanket.
love the piggies.
I mean, pigs in the blanket?
What about you? Never?
Pretzel's
I
not
thought you were
crazy.
calling that over what? Okay.
No.
I was like, what is that?
Josue, I missed.
Yeah.
I got kicked off. So you have a go-to Super Bowl like
No one
pick?
asked me my thought
Food
on
pick?
who's winning.
Food pick?
Buff chicken dip is a huge,
Yes.
is a must.
Huge.
Wings, of course, buffalo. I'm a ranch guy over blue cheese. I don't like. I'm not a
Me
blue
too.
cheese guy.
I'm not a blue cheese guy either.
I'm not, picky. I'll have the blue cheese. That's all you got. But I'm a huge ranch guy. So.
Agree.
All right, predictions.
1,000%.
Sausage.
Let's get predictions.
Sausage and peppers for the Super Bowl.
Let's get predictions and then get out of here.
Nick,
Brady's going to win. The media would have it no other way.
Super Bowl prediction, Nick. What's your Super Bowl prediction?
He's going Brady.
Would have it no other way. Brady's going to win. I mean, no. In all actuality, it's a good story. I mean, how can you not want Brady to win? Home field. Yeah, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm going, this is rigged.
Why?
Home field, Brady.
Listen, when they picked
the NFC's rigged.
When they picked the Super Bowl location in Tampa Bay, they had no idea Tom Brady would be joining the team.
When did they pick it? When do they pick it?
It's like a few years out or whatever.
Yeah. But even before he made his announcement, though, Tampa Bay was on the list. There was a lot of people's mind that was a good option for him to go.
Right, but the NFL probably had no idea that the Patriots would ever let Tom Brady go. They couldn't ever think that the Patriots would be that stupid and inept because they've never been that.
That's a whole nother
So all
debate.
of a sudden, pride gets in the way, and I don't know what else, like some dementia or something gets in the way, and Brady's playing for Tampa Bay now. Well, guess what? I've moved on because it's a new day in Tampa Bay. Somebody said the shirt's hideous. You're 100% right. It's a disgusting shirt. But
I love the color. I always love the job.
It always takes me like 20 seconds to figure out what it is.
I'm gonna and channel my inner Felger. They are a turd franchise.
Who cares? You know what? Tom Brady
who cares? Are you still a Patriots fan? Or are you now Tampa Bay only? Like, are you a LeBron? You're basically like
I'm a Tom Brady
LeBron fan now.
I'm a Tom Brady fan.
You
can root for Tom Brady without doing the whole looking like what Bobby.
I was thinking about that earlier.
Well,
it's a little different because of how long he was there.
No, it is. Right. Let's go around the horn. How many of you were mad at Ray Allen? I don't think anybody here was. Were you? Josue.
Yeah.
Jimmy was with me. He wasn't. Bobby was. Yep.
When it first happened,
I know
yeah.
I know what the retort is going to be, but it's the same concept, right? Only Ray Allen didn't make the announcement on the day sports shut down. He didn't, know he was leaving for 2 years prior to leaving. He was the last Super Bowl he won. He looked pissed off.
Yeah, listen, this wasn't a one-day decision.
Want Allen back? I think he would have.
Wasn't he the last pick in the draft? Like what? Like didn't like the Patriots? Like that was a great partnership. What happened? They wouldn't pay him.
Belichick
take a salary cap or salary decrease.
Come on, Nick. It was not about money.
Asking.
I hate when this argument comes up because
it was about his wife, I think.
Brady, no. Brady had it with the organization, whether we're talking about not having enough weapons or getting rid of his guys or not getting the ones that he, wanted to hold on to. And he had it. I think he went into the last season knowing that was going to be it.
He did.
And I don't have a problem with that. And I'm still
He lied to you. He lied to you and all his fans all throughout the season.
He didn't lie to anybody. Listen.
Oh, he did. He said, he did.
I didn't let the last 2 years hear from him.
Not all Pats fans were shocked when he left.
Once the Patriots made him a lame duck quarterback, which was the most disrespectful thing they could have done, it was over. It wasn't a one-day decision. He played the last season knowing, and the Patriots knew too, that it was going to be his last season. So what's done is done. We're on to Tampa Bay, Super Bowl tonight. I have Bucks.
So sad at the 2020.
I want to say it's going to be a high-scoring game, but typically the last feels like Super Bowls are always like,
I'll tell you this, right? Nick. It would have been a little different if the Patriots bounced back better this year.
You know what infuriates me? Is that people are now putting him in the same category as Bill Russell. You can't. No.
Yeah, he's better than Bill. He's higher up.
Jordan? He's got the Jordan 6.
I know.
He's
Jordan
higher
stayed
up
with the whole franchise his entire career. He didn't leave them high and
dry. Is he on your Mount Rushmore?
Nick, he didn't.
Jordan
he's
didn't leave.
He's on my Mount Rushmore.
Jordan didn't leave the Bulls high and dry.
No.
Is that what you just said?
No. He retired.
All right, Josue. Halftime predictions.
Dude, he retired twice, first of all. He retired.
Yeah, he didn't retire the first time, let's be honest. But the second time he retired.
Did he leave?
All right, guys.
Stop.
Before you two keep going at it.
No.
This is like the old days, Jimmy.
Josue, that was the dumbest thing.
The sun's coming
Nick
down.
says a lot of dumb things, but that was about
Jimmy, this is coming from the guy who wasn't even born yet, I don't think.
When what?
He does it to get a reaction. Look at it. I feel like I'm like a dad talking to his kids. He does it to get a reaction out of you, Jimmy. Ignore it.
Yeah,
right?
listen.
It's all the years he was doing it to me at the Garden. Always giving me reactions.
Nick,
you're the one who sounds stupid.
Nick,
you're the one who sounds stupid.
Apologize to your brother.
No,
Jimmy, say sorry to Nick.
Stupid.
I'm sorry for some of the. I'm sorry for some of the things you said on the show.
Bobby has something to say.
Let's go back to food.
All right.
No,
good job. There you go, Bobby.
Stupid.
Let's refocus here. Let's refocus.
Bill Russell won at every level. Don't
Bill Russell. We went from food. Now we're going to go to the halftime show. All right. Any crazy predictions?
Dude,
what do you guys
that proves your point. Now you've lost all credibility.
You know the weekend's going to bring out somebody.
Blasting on Bill Russell.
I didn't blast on him. I just said Brady's. I said you were alive for Bill Russell. You just tried to use that argument against me.
No, I don't have to be alive. It's in the record books. The guy won at every level, every championship. He lost once. How could you put them on the same level?
How many teams in the NBA that year, though?
You guys all use that. If there were only 8 teams in the NBA today, how talented would these teams be?
I know, but look at you get off that.
You're comparing at different eras, different sports.
Then don't call him the GOAT. He's not the GOAT of all sports. He's the GOAT of the NFL.
Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I mean, he's right up there.
Bobby, he's going to pull up at the halftime show.
You can't have the GOAT of all sports.
My predictions, there's a lot of big names floating around out there. Ariana
Grande, 100%.
I'm not going with one of those. I'm going with Kenny G in the back with the saxophone for like 2 minutes, and that's it. It's going to be all weekend, and he deserves this. I mean, this was one of the great album rollouts we've ever seen over the course of a year. You got snubbed from the Grammys, so tonight's going to be one of those. I'm saying that's going to be the guest tonight. Yeah, that's my prediction for halftime.
Kenny G.
What crazy musical guest going to come out and pop out?
I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I think it's going to be Kenny G.
You know what, Bobby? You could be right because the Grammy snub, I could see him doing that.
That gets the people going more than a little Kenny G.
Hey, I'll text you at halftime if it happens.
Kenny G.
If you bring out Kenny G, you have to bring out someone else after that. Like, you can't just put Kenny G the whole time.
I am not predicting Drake.
You better bring out a platter full of Xanax and weed because Kenny G is exhausting. Like, you just want to relax, I think. I haven't listened
It's not going to be long. I think he's going to make a quick appearance. No, this is going to be all the weekend.
I was like, what?
And I think this is going to be one of the better halftime shows ever. He's going to do an amazing job.
Oh, no.
When you said Kenny G, I just thought of Bobby. I thought of the Kanye solo on his Jesus his last album. Remember Kenny G solo?
Kenny G appeared there, and then he appeared on this weekend now. So I think Kenny G is going to be the guest. Write it down. Remember when you see it.
But if it happens,
every league had it all. Every team.
Josue, did you give your game prediction?
Oh, man.
No one asked me.
I did it.
Who is
That's
Kenny
tough.
G?
We asked you first, Nick.
No,
All right,
no,
we got
no.
one more thing here. Manscaped. Manscaped is still offering 20% off and free shipping. Oh, wow.
I
Why
didn't
would
put
you-
that out there.
Why would you post
Wow. Who's
that?
controlling the
not-
comments, bro?
We
This
are
is
off the
why I
rails.
told you not to
Put that
control
out
that.
there.
This is exactly why.
That
Hey,
is
not
what
that.
I
Hey,
meant
by
to
the way, not that
put
there's
up there.
anything wrong
Bobby,
with
why'd
that.
you give him that
Yeah,
freaking
yeah. I
power?
don't like that talk, to be honest with you. Jimmy is a
Use
faggot.
this
Get rid of him.
gospel. There we go. Fuzzy
Press-
said, that's the name of the
Press
song.
Pass 20. We got to end the show ASAP. Press Pass 20, 20% off your first purchase. The Lawnmower
it's
3.0 is out. It's waterproof. It's what you need. It's what we've been telling you. You
Y'all call
need
me
this
old,
product,
I'm Lord.
so go get that one.
Hey,
It's
Nick.
20% off with free shipping.
Anyone
And we
who
are
wants
done
to
here.
Manscaped.
Nick, whenever Bobby or anyone wants to read the read, just put something over the copy so it makes it easier for him. Or harder.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to remove
Celtics.
them.
Celtics
anybody
lose
wants to
191.
Wait,
Enjoy the
anybody
big
wants
game.
to stay? Wait a minute. Anybody
Go
wants to
Brady.
stay and talk Celtics? I will. No.
All right, that's gonna
We
do it.
don't.
We'll see you guys in a
We
couple of
don't.
nights.
Listeners,
We want to
chat-
watch
We're outta
Brady
here.
take ring
Tuesday,
number
Jazz
7,
Celtics.
baby.
That's a big one.